I was planning on reviewing a Shockwave today because it was supposed to be here almost a month ago, but the Postal Service lost the package. So now we'll see if that ever shows up. And next week is going to be a little different. Rather than your normally scheduled programming, it's going to be a whole week of themed roast demands leading up to the 10K subscriber special on Christmas Day. I hope you're all excited because it's going to be a lot of work. But oh hey guys, look! It's another Wave 3 figure with QC problems! What are the chances? It's Legacy Deadend. Let's start out with the problems. This one has wobbly hips, but it's mostly just his right leg, and they do hold better than that trash Point Blank. His hips are kind of blocked up by the pelvis, so when he kicks forward, the legs have to go off to the side to fit under that and allow him to get the full range out of them. Though that does mean that there is an area between here and here that he just doesn't have access to. He's got loose forwards and backwards on the ankles, and after that, there's one more thing that we'll get into later, but it's kind of a big deal. Outside those issues, this is definitely one of the Wave 3 figures I'm feeling the look of the most. The sculpt is great. While his thighs are a bit too short, the legs are in better proportion than a lot of other Transformers figures, and he's got a cool silhouette. Though I would say that he's a bit too broad and heroically built for old Deadend. This guy is supposed to be the sad sack beatnik, so Action Man is a bit weird for him. I have to hand it to his backpack though. It is both not that bad, and it's not making itself worse for no reason other than it thought being awful was somehow good. I will never forgive that Wild Rider. I will never let go of how that decided to ruin itself in the misguided idea that being the ugliest, bulkiest possible thing somehow made the backpack less ugly and seem smaller. The drugs that designer must have been on. Now I'll say that despite the fact that the backpack is quite reasonable, the calves are very much not. Damn son, your calves are thicker than Rise of the Beasts Optimus Prime, which is a high bar to cross. This guy weirdly looks the most like a Combiner Wars figure out of the whole line. With his tiny feet and kibbly nature, it's got an aesthetic to it, but it's definitely weird to see. This actually has a remarkable amount of paint in comparison with almost anything that came out in the last decade. Like, his whole chest is painted, all the wheels are silvered, the roof of the car got a ton, it's got headlights, the bumper, the slick racing stripe, and I'm only just realizing this now, all the windows are paint as well. And there's just two things about that. One, what the hell? This is like the only deluxe or larger figure in years that Hasbro has done this for. What makes this one unique? And two, goes to show how much not at all the windows being clear or painted matters when I didn't realize till I was taking stock of all the paint that the windows weren't just the usual transparent plastic. I don't hate or fear clear plastic like a lot of reviewers do, but man, even I am coming to the conclusion that Hasbro is really kneecapping themselves by treating clear plastic as the premium material they clearly think it is. Sculpting is good too, but honestly looking at this thing and I feel like it more belongs in Siege than it does Legacy, it's just got that cyberpunk feel to it as opposed to the G1 thing the rest of the line is going for. And considering that appealed so much to me, I do have to say that I've never thought Deadend looked so cool. Like, he's one of the Stunticons people actually kind of like because he's got the only interesting personality in the group, but I can't exactly say that the design ever grabbed me before. I don't know if you can count this as any kind of benefit, but I think it's fun in a very stupid way. You can transform him wrong so both his arms end up on one side of his body, so now he's some kind of Frankensteinian abomination. Or sorry, Shockwavian. What's funny is that if you look at this now, and I think that the chest is probably in the correct proportions this way. Without those panels his arms are on, his chest kind of slims down to what it normally should be. It does look a good bit sleeker like this, but I do think I prefer Wide Boy Deadend. Careful with these little wheels, they pop off. A lot. Like, way too often. These probably should have been pinned, though I guess they aren't going to break like this at least. And then the head is pretty cool. You know me, I'm a sucker for robot faceplates, and this one has an understated but interesting version of that. It really feels more like a mask than a lot of them. I could actually see him taking this off to reveal a mustache underneath. And then there's what I know has to be a huge pro for a lot of people, but he's a con with an eye color other than red. To be fair, I do think the purple visor is a serious vibe, and I honestly wouldn't be opposed to see more cons with other color eyes, but not Soundwave. Never Soundwave. I also love how the helmet he's got here from the G1 cartoon was based on those weird head shapes that all the Scramble City combiners had so they could use their domes as connectors for the combined modes. It gives it a unique shape among most Transformers helmets while not just being his head in the way that guys like Breakdown, Swindle, Vortex, and Brawl were. So while the QC still kind of sucks pretty hard here, visually the robot mode is pretty solid. It looks like the character, though through a techno filter and a funhouse mirror, stretching him a bit wide in some places and doing things like making his thighs weirdly short. But in general, this guy is better painted than most of the rest of the line. He has more consistency of design than others. I mean, just look at Point Blank, who's a tragedy of stuff that doesn't fit together properly. And maybe it's just me knowing who the character is, but the muted colors on him bring that low-key energy that the character is known for. So at the very least, I'm liking what I see. There are other problems though. Like the accessories. We have a new set of guns that are molded decent and look pretty good, plus they have a reasonable amount of paint, but unlike the first ones, which pegged together with a square set of tabs, and the second one, which used a normal 5mm peg connection, these ones don't peg together at all. Because fuck us, why should we be allowed to make a wall of guns that would be weapons to surpass Metal Gear? I don't know why we can't have such a thing. That reference was subtle, and if you get it, you're a fucking hero. Anyways, you can peg these guns into Wild Riders just to give Hasbro the bird, but yeah, this is irritating. And then the posability kind of sucks. Fat donkey dong. Head only swivels. You cannot cheat it for more. Shoulders pull like a 92 and like 88-degree elbows. No wrists. Legs have the aforementioned issues going forward, are unimpeded out to the side, and have even worse issues going back while also being hampered. Slightly less than 90 knees, and feet that have pivot and toe down. And holy shit, I think I undersold that, because this easily has the worst posing I've seen in years. Point blank, that fucking piece of trash at least had an above average lower body, despite how terrible his torso was. This thing's best joints are his shoulders, which are average, and his feet, which are average. Everything else is slightly to significantly below average. And that's just depressing. Then you get to the transformation and realize that this is just a retool of the drag strip. It's mostly the same thing, just kind of worse with the shoulder tires that can pop off while you're doing it, and the fact that it's almost impossible to separate the legs when going into robot mode. But it still has at least a pretty fun and relatively easy conversion, and the end result is pretty decent, but unnecessarily flawed. It looks so good. It looks so close to perfect for what it wants to be, and then you get to the trunk section of the car, and the Wave 3 QC seems to have had its most notable victim yet. I don't even know that you can so much call this QC as it is bad wrong design, because as far as I've been able to gather, the reporting on this is 100%. It is a universal issue. Every last one of these has this flaw. There is not a single dead end out there that holds together in its rear fifth. It may not seem like a big deal, but it is remarkably irritating. You can see how it's supposed to go, you really want it to go, and it just refuses. It feels squishy and shitty, it's just awful, and it's sad to see it ruin what is otherwise a really solid mode that, again, isn't using pointless clear plastic. And this car does not roll well, like, at all. It's actually really bad at it. The wheels just ride so rough, it drains all its momentum excessively quickly. But that's not the last thing this does. Oh no, it combines with the arm. Just like drag strip does, it auto splits. And that's really cool and all, but the end result is incredibly wanting. The drag strip was so flush and awesome, it really felt like it was becoming part of the arm. The aesthetics merged, the seams were almost unnoticeable. The same cannot be said here. This looks like shit. It is a bracket with two halves of a car tacked on, unconvincingly hanging off the outside. It's too bulbous, it protrudes too far away from the body, it's too wide, really feeling like it's hanging over the sides of the bicep and wrist, the rounded shapes don't fit with the angular mechanical frame aesthetic, it just doesn't look like it's a part of the arm, it looks like Menasor normally does, like a robot decorated with a scrapyard. And then the connection issues the rear of the car has just makes it all worse. So ultimately, this is another complete failure from Wave 3. Another figure that looks good in robot mode, really pretty damn cool, and it's got way more paint than normal, and they didn't use clear plastic, so this is going to be more durable in the long run, but who cares about durability when the QC is still so fucking bad that it might as well not be durable? And the posability sucks like little else, doing worse than most core figures. And the weapons are okay, but it still feels like they were trying to insult us. And the transformation is okay, but it's a worse version of the drag strip. And then the car would be good if the QC wasn't sabotaging it so severely. And I mean, it's still alright from some angles, but it's far too frustrating. And now we're 4 figures in, and I'm questioning if I even remotely want to finish Menasor. It was bad enough that Wild Rider sucked like a gut wound, but his alt mode looked better than this, and even though it was hidden on the back, I wish I could say the same for this. This not being hidden on the combined mode is the problem. It actively makes the combiner uglier with its inclusion, because it clashes so heavily with the design of the rest of it. Wild Rider would have made a better arm bot than this. So now we have an excellent Motormaster and drag strip and a fucking atrocious everyone else. This isn't the worst of the set, that still goes to Wild Rider, but somehow it's doing more harm because unlike Wild Rider, you have to look at this in combined mode. It is not hidden. And now my faith in a good Menasor has actively crumbled. I actually started this video thinking it was going to be a positive review, and then I just got angrier and angrier as I realized the mounting problems this thing has. From afar, the arm might look okay, but I can't recommend this, and as a result, I don't even know if I can recommend the Motormaster anymore, as now it's a commander that requires other figures to finish it off, and 3 out of the 4 of them were phoned in. And that's not half what I have to say, but it's enough what I have to say. And I know, you know, what everyone else tells you to do at the end of these videos. So, if you liked what you saw here, please do that. And if you'd like to take it a step further, then please share this video with any friend you think may be interested. I hope you all enjoyed listening to me waste your time.